Hey, hey, welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome. Great to have you along. First of all, I want to make sure you can see and hear me. You see and hear me. My guess is there's a little static in the audio to begin with, but that will go away is my guess. So we'll kind of see. Izzy says you can see and hear me. That's fantastic. I'm going to move this camera because I always forget which camera to look at, right? Andrea, fantastic, JM. We're good. We're good, 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 good. Hey, welcome. Welcome to How to Think Critically. That's what we get to talk about today. And to start out with, we're going to do a Kahoot quiz. So do me a favor. Go to kahoot.it, and enter in that bad boy. And we'll go ahead and do that quiz here momentarily. Going to move that out of the way and come over here and kind of, well, you know what? You see, we're all lining up. We're all getting in there. I think I'll get out of the way so that you can see me and see it and so forth. We've got about 7 folks in there. We'll get a few more. By the way, hey, oh my gosh, guys, this is like your first, I'm trying to find the right one. This is your first live stream with me. I forget, I've done so many of these live streams that I forget this is our first one. Welcome. Seriously, welcome. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. So, I'll do the whole intro thing in a moment here and so forth. But we're going to start with this quiz. And then I'll do the intro thing to kind of show you a little bit about how this live stream works. All right, so we've got a few folks in here, so that's fantastic. Hopefully our delay isn't too bad. We do what we can there. So it's only two questions, totally anonymous. This is totally anonymous, all right? Just a survey. Good, we're getting in more folks. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out, and by the way, this little survey quiz is going to ask you about Utah drivers. If you are not in Utah, I apologize. It doesn't really work for you, but the point that I'm making will not be lost on you at all, okay? But just so you know, this is for Utah drivers. Many of the folks with us today are from Utah, so they'll totally get what we're doing, but the lesson won't be lost on you, okay? So with that, let's go ahead and start. Just 2 questions. Here's our first one. Utah drivers. How do you rate your driving skills? How do you rate your driving skills? Yours. How do you rate yours? Poor, good, fair, excellent. Okay, hey, awesome. So none of you are poor or fair, which makes sense. You're good drivers, I get it. The majority of you give yourself a benefit of a doubt. You're going to go ahead and say, I'm good, right? 4 of you say, no, I'm excellent. That's just fine. So we've got 64% say you're good and 36% say excellent. Okay, very good. Here's our second question. Again, a poll. How do you rate the average Utah driver? And don't worry, Alma, it'll work fine for you. I'm just being here. How do you rate the average Utah driver? Good, fair, poor, excellent. And we're getting, okay, very good. Okay, so check this out. Average Utah driver, 30% of you said poor. 40% said fair, 30% said good, and nobody said excellent. Okay, now, just to remind you, the vast majority of you, when we started out, you said 70% said you were good, 30% said you were excellent, but now you're saying that 30% are poor for Utah drivers, and 40% are fair, and only 30% you set up as, and I'm trying to change something here, just so you know, okay, as good, but nobody said excellent, okay? Well, that's going to be a good lead up here, because today we're going to talk about how to think critically. Now, as I do so, I want to kind of introduce you to some of the things here in this live stream. You notice there's some stuff going on here. Well, I had about 12 participants in that survey, right, in that poll. So I am going to mark us up to, when it comes to contributors, oh, come along, you, oh, I see, I'm not typed into the right area. When it comes to contributors, I'm going to go ahead and say right away, we've got 10 contributors. It only goes up to 10, okay? Whoa, one more, 10. Now, by the way, we're doing this every time we meet, just so you know. So 10 contributors, so what does that mean? Well, it means that you hit 10, we have engagement from 10 folks. So what I want you to do is email me a timestamp, which means right now it is 10:06. And I'm going to go ahead and write in here 10:06. 10:006. Just email, the one didn't show up. Email me 10:06, okay? Now, because you email me 10:06, that means you were here when we hit 10 contributors, and there's going to be a little extra in your paycheck because you got to 10. And we're doing this on all these levels. Awesome comments and referencing to past lectures, as well as referencing comments that others provide here in the chat, as well as if you give me a real world example. Now, throughout this lecture, I'm going to open up all kinds of opportunities for folks to chime in, leave comments, leave chats, all that. And I like it when we can get everything up to 10, because then that bumps up what I can do for you. Okay? So, with that in mind, what we did here is I asked you about Utah drivers, right? And I said, hey, how do you rate your own driving skills? And you all said, well, it's either really good or excellent. And that's awesome. And then I asked, well, how do you rate the average Utah driver? And you said, they suck and blow at the same time. They're so bad. All right. So let me ask you this. What were the criteria that you used in making this assessment? I mean, I just said, what do you think, right? Well, let's look at some data. Let's look at some hard data. All right. First of all, you're a Utah driver. I mean, think about it. Now, I know some of you are not in Utah, and I understand that. But speaking to those who contributed to the survey, the poll, and who drive, you're a Utah driver. So think about that. We rate, and by the way, this is a total normal psychological mechanism, okay? It's a perception thing, right? So this is normal. I'm not just giving you a hard time. This is totally normal. You rate your own driving skills as good or excellent, but you rate the driving skills of everybody else as poor or fair. And yet you are the Utah drivers. Now you might say, well, I didn't learn to drive in Utah. I'm a transplant from another state. So is everybody else on the road. I'm a transplant from another state, right? So first, as a criteria point, you're a Utah driver. Second criteria point. The average age of a SLIC student is 23. That means the average SLIC student has been driving for, say, 7 years. Okay? The average age of a Utah driver is 40, which means the average Utah driver has been driving for 24 years. This means that the typical Utah driver has been driving for more than 3 times longer than the typical SLIC student. Now, I know not all of you are 23 and so on and so forth, but you get my point. The average Utah driver has been driving longer than you. Okay, let's keep going. When it comes to deaths per capita, driving deaths, we are 38th in the country. Only 12 states have a better death per capita rating data point than Utah. Utah is pretty darn safe. Okay? When it comes to drunk driving, Utah is number 1. Nobody has lower drunk driving rates than the state of Utah. By the way, all the data is from these sites down here. All right? When it comes to speeding, this is my Achilles heel, guys. Utah ranks high for speeding with an average highway speed of 73. However, we're not in the top 5. So we're not the worst when it comes to speeding, but we do tend to have a lead foot. I do. I totally speed. Okay? All right, let's keep going. When it comes to road rage, we're not even in the top 10. Our road rage numbers are low. I couldn't find the exact numbers, but we are not in the top 10 when it comes to road rage. All right? So here's the thing. Why were you so sure that Utah drivers sucked? Right? Now, you're welcome to put in comments and so forth, but I'll I'll open up other opportunities to chime in and so forth. But here's the thing: we tend to just go through life with these goggles on, with these assumptions and perceptions and anecdotal evidence and so on and so forth, but we don't often pause and think critically about the question, all right? We just kind of go with what we've always thought. Utah drivers suck. And no, they don't. They don't. And that's good because you're a Utah driver, all right? Well, that brings us to what critical thinking is all about, okay? I'm going to read this. Let's see. Let's see here. By the way, Scott, is it okay to send an email after class? Oh, yeah, Scott. Totally. Right? Totally. Send it after class. And by the way, questions get awesome comments. Right? Very good. Okay. So I'm going to read through this, but then we're going to analyze it, which is really what part of critical thinking is all about. All right, so check this out. Critical thinking is that mode of thinking about any subject or problem in which the thinker improves the quality of his or her own thinking. Okay? We're talking about our own thinking, not the thinking of others, by skillfully analyzing, assessing, and reconstructing it. We're going to talk about that. Critical thinking is self-directed, self-disciplined, self-monitored, and self-correcting. Okay, corrective. Meaning it's all about us. It's our thinking. Critical thinking is not about trolling the world and saying, you suck, right? It's about looking at our own thinking, right? So, for example, Laura here, and this gets a comment, says, experience on the road, I've been cut off, I've been honked at, tailgated many times. Yeah, the experience that we have on the road kind of says, well, gee, this doesn't feel right. And yet when we look at the data and understand that we do these things as well, we start to realize, no, we're all pretty okay, okay? So it presupposes rigorous standards and so on and so forth. So and here's the main thing, as well as a commitment to overcome our native egocentric and sociocentric views. You know, egocentrism and sociocentrism. We're gonna define those, but they're really important to define. Right? Really important to define. And we're getting some more great comments. Personal experience, yeah, I've been tailgated. Yeah, totally. I hate people who tailgate. Totally with you. Totally with you. Okay, so let's explore this. Okay, analyze. Let's pretend for a moment, all right? So it's like, hey, I tried to do a keystroke. Yeah, there's the keystroke. There's me getting attention, right? Give me attention. Let's imagine that we're cleaning out a closet, right? Let's imagine that we're cleaning out a closet. And we're applying critical thinking to the closet. Watch this. First, analyze. We take everything out of the closet and put it into its constituent parts. New clothes, old clothes, shoes, winter, summer, colors. We kind of organize it into its constituent parts, all right? And then we assess. We decide what to keep, what to give away, and what to trash. So maybe, and we're getting more comments, so I'm just going to be throwing those in there. After we've kind of emptied out our closet and we've laid everything out, we kind of can immediately say, well, stuff like that looks like doesn't really, I'm not going to use it anymore. I'm not going to wear it. I don't fit it. Maybe putting it into its constituent parts, we put in what we can fit and what we can't, right? Or what's in style or what isn't style. But we analyze and kind of assess all the clothes based on these various criteria, right? And then we reconstruct. We put everything back that we want to keep, organizing it to better meet our needs. So at the end of the day, the idea is that that closet is now going to be better organized and more aligned with how we wear our clothes. And it's the same thing when it comes to our critical thinking. We have all kinds of garbage in here. Me, I do too. I have all kinds of garbage in here, and every once in a while I need to step back and analyze what I think, break it down into its constituent parts, kind of figure out what are the criteria I'm using to think like this way, and reassess it, and then reconstruct my thinking to better align with the truth, okay? That's the idea. That's the idea here. By the way, a couple of comments here that we had. One of my friends from California, including me, and live in Utah, known about being the worst drivers. I feel California are more defensive drivers. I grew up in California. I'm a California driver. And so I hear what you're saying. By the way, somebody here said, you know, I agree with Scott. So I agree with Scott. Alma says, when you reference another person in the comments, that gets you a reference to past lectures. So you can either reference past lectures, which is going to be hard to do today because there are no other past lectures. This is our first one. Or you can reference what other people are saying and contribute to the conversation, and you get the little thingies there. Okay, this is what we're talking about then when it comes to critical thinking. Now, it is also about overcoming our native egocentrism and sociocentrism. This is important. I want to discuss this. So egocentrism says, well, I got to protect my sense of self-worth. I need to protect my sense of self-esteem. The reason that we, you know, remember we said I am a good to excellent driver, but Utah drivers were poor to fair. Maybe some of them are good. Our data showed. That's egocentrism. That's us saying, I'm better than the average. I need to feel that I'm good. By the way, this is normal. Don't ever think I'm going, you are thinking wrong. No, 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 no. This is normal. I do it. This is a healthy mind. A healthy mind protects its sense of self-worth and self-esteem. And so we often think in a way that is egocentric, that we are protecting our own sense of self. Now, we also have sociocentric, all right? That's the other word there, sociocentric. Sociocentric meaning I want to protect the community with whom I belong, right? So this is where it's like USA, 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 right? That's sociocentric because USA is better than anybody else. No, it's not. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I have lived in 5 countries and I've traveled to 16, and USA is totally on the top, right? I mean, come on, right? This is sociocentric. Now, by the way, there's some really other awesome countries. And I always think one day I'm going to like retire in Scotland. That's been my dream since I was that big, retire in Scotland. Anyway, I digress, okay? The point is that we tend to take care of the community with whom we belong, right? And we see the world through that lens. So if I'm sociocentric and somebody says, you know, oh, the way America does this is totally jacked up, I'm going to be like, what do you mean it's totally jacked up, right? Because I have to protect that sense of identity, all right? Yeah, totally. And we have also got, I'm from Costa Rica, and people in my country usually think themselves superior to any other country. So first of all, that is our next awesome comment. That is also a real-world example, and congratulations, we just got another 10. You don't have to send another email. One email is fine, right? But Damien, you're right. Everybody thinks they're better than everybody else. This is our egocentric and sociocentric view. And I really want to emphasize, folks, this is normal. This isn't saying that we're jacked up or anything, but we need to be aware of it. And we need to bring rational thought and rational analysis to our thinking to overcome our native egocentric and sociocentric views. Right? And Laura, you're absolutely right. This is Republican and Democrat, right? Same thing. Okay. My family is from Bosnia and Serbia and love cars well. And so I've learned to be a good driver. Yes. And great real world example. I love it. Okay. All right, let's keep going. You guys are getting it. You're so getting it. All right, let's keep going. All right, so I want to define thinking errors. Now, this is going to be a totally simplistic view. Okay, trust me, innumerable, if that's the right word, innumerable PhD dissertations have been written about thinking errors. But we want to look at just basic thinking errors, okay? So we're looking at two vectors. We've got ourselves reality and then how we are perceiving that reality, all right? So let me give you some examples just to make the case. If something is true and we accept that truth, then there's no thinking error, all right? Whereas if something is true, but we reject it as a truth, we say, no, that's not the case, then we have a type 1 thinking error. Now, I'll highlight this in a moment. On the other side of the equation, if something is false and we say, we reject this thing because it's false, then there's no thinking error. On the other hand, if something is false but we embrace it as a truth, then we have a type 2 thinking error, okay? Now, what I recommend is, and I'm going to come on over here, I got to make sure I have the right things, just kind of take a screen capture of that or something, well, it's in the reading. It's in the reading. But you really want to kind of remember this because it'll matter later on. I'm not going to be totally nitpicky on if we get type 1 or type 2 right or wrong, but it's good to understand how thinking errors work. So now I'm going to give you an example that you guys will totally get. All right? So, earning a college degree increases your earning potential. And you accept that truth. That's why I'm here. You accept the truth that earning a college degree increases your earning potential. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed. That doesn't mean it's promised. That doesn't mean that nothing can go wrong. You just know that by earning a college degree, the potential to earn more increases. The data supports this. Well, now, what if you were to say, baloney? What about Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Jim Carrey, and Bill Gates? None of them have a college degree, and last I checked, they're all doing pretty well. Well, now, here's the thing about thinking errors, guys. That's a thinking error because you're rejecting a truth. But those are real examples, right? Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Jim Carrey, Bill Gates, none of them have college degrees. And they're richer than dirt, right? They're rich. Well, then, why is it a thinking error? Well, these are outliers. And don't worry, we'll have lots of other times to chime in and so forth, but these are outliers. There's always one example out of a billion that proves the rule otherwise, right? That goes against the rule, that breaks the rule. The problem is a lot of us tend to look at these outliers and say, you see, therefore, this is not a truth, right? Can you get rich on YouTube? You're not going to get rich on YouTube. I'm not going to get rich on YouTube. And you go, wait, no. But there's this person on YouTube who's rich. There's this Twitch streamer who's rich. I mean, look at all these people there. And I'm looking for my button. I don't have you know what I need to do is I need to kill this bad boy because I bet it's soaking up bandwidth, right? And we'll come back to, let's kill this. We're going to leave that. Okay, now we're back. We can always point to examples of people who did super, super well without a college degree or streaming and so on and so forth. But statistically, that's not realistic, okay? But now let's come back here. Follow my 12-step plan and you can earn $2,000 a week. Where do I sign up? This is not going to happen. If you see those signs on the road, you've seen those signs on the road, right? Written in crayon on cardboard, please, saying that you can earn $2,000 a week. You're not going to call that number because you're smarter than that. So you are not going to make this thinking error. You're saying this, no, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. Laura says, by the way, I work in the insurance industry, and in 14 years experience, get me a job over somebody with a bachelor's. However, my experience in bachelor's will get me better pay. You know, and we could really talk about this real world example. That's fantastic. You know, I've often said, I'm going to just talk about this for a second, and then we'll get back to the real thing. I've often said that the worst thing that could happen to somebody is a good paying job right out of high school. Because, yeah, there are plenty of people out of high school earning more than people who are working on their bachelor's. But their growth trajectory, here, let me show you. Okay, so you can have somebody who's earning this much in high school, and you're earning this much right now, okay? And you're like, man, they're making so much more. Why am I stuck here in college? Why am I doing this? Well, their growth over the years, okay, over say 25 years, their growth is going to go like that. It's going to be more or less flat. They'll get a little bit here and there, but their growth is going to be pretty flat because their skill sets, they'll get on the job training, they'll learn stuff, but it's still a really narrow set of skill sets. Whereas you guys with a bachelor's degree, your growth trajectory is going to go like that, which means at some point you're going to intersect their growth trajectory and continue going up, all right? It's what the data says. It's not a guarantee. It's not a promise, right? But the data supports this, okay? All right. Yeah, oh my gosh. I'm looking at a real world example, talking about the, multi-level and so forth. Yeah, it's easy to get sucked into that, ergo the importance of critical thinking. Okay, let's keep going. So, here's the thing. We tend to get mixed up when it comes to critical thinking and so on and so forth between facts, opinions, and beliefs. Okay? So, let's make sure that we truly understand what is a fact, what is an opinion, and what is a belief. By the way, all three are great and fantastic and marvelous, and we should all have them and nurture them. But we don't want to confuse them. Okay, so first, fact. Something which has been observed, measured, and proven to be true by means of the scientific method. All right, reference past lecture because Izzy says, yeah, Andrea, I'm with you. So, observed, measured, and proven to be true by means of the scientific method, which means you take out all the variables, you observe and measure that specific thing that you're looking at, you get a result, and you duplicate that result over and over following the scientific method. That, my friend, is a fact. It's a fact. Okay, that's fine. All right, then what about an opinion? An opinion is a subjective statement we hold about something, how we perceive the facts. Okay, so let me show you an example, right? Right now, you're perceiving my studio. That is a fact, all right? You've already given me feedback saying you can see and hear me. So I am going to assert that it is a fact that you can see my studio and you can see my OBS live stream and you can perceive it. That's a fact. Whether or not you like it, that's an opinion, okay? It's a subjective judgment of whether or not you think this look is good, right? A lot of you who watch streaming on Twitch and so forth, it's all the cool techno-neo crap, right? And I say crap as in I don't like it. No. I like it, but come on, I'm a freaking old man. I would look totally lame if I had this cool techno It was bad enough that I had techno music at the beginning, but I like it. Deal with it, right? So you have an opinion on whether or not you like this. It's not a fact on whether it's good or bad. It's just your opinion on whether you like it. Same thing with your opinion on whether or not you like streaming classes. Some people are like, no, I like face-to-face much better. Others are like, no, I'm fine with online. Others are like, I like this streaming. Others are like, dude, just do a Zoom meeting. This is overkill, right? Those are opinions. All right. Then what's a belief? So glad you asked. A belief is something we embrace as a guiding value, one founded on faith and deep sense of moral truth, okay? This is like an opinion on steroids, right? Where it's a way that we live our life, a fundamental truth that guides our decision making. I have a belief, I believe that you guys as students, all right, I believe that you are technologically savvy. You know how to consume information online. I believe that you watch YouTube videos and that you watch streaming, and so you're good at consuming information like this. And furthermore, I believe that the talking head Zoom meetings are so boring and so ineffective. Therefore, I invest a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort in learning how and developing my broadcast skills. Therefore, it is a guiding value. This sense that I have a moral obligation to provide you something that you can consume and appreciate and learn from is a guiding value. And I feel a deep sense of moral obligation to provide this. Therefore, that's a belief of mine. Okay. Andrea says, 100% agree. I appreciate what you do so much. Very engaging and interesting. Yeah, I'm not fishing. I'm not fishing for compliments, but I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Because, you know, this is real stuff, guys. You guys have an obligation. You've paid money. You're giving me time, and we've engaged in a contract that I should be able to provide you something of value. Therefore, I believe I have a moral obligation to do so in the best way possible. That is a belief. Now, I want to be really clear. Facts are fantastic and marvelous. Opinions are fantastic and marvelous. And a belief is fantastic and marvelous. The problem is when we mix these bad boys up. When we have an opinion and we treat it like a fact, or we have a belief and treat it like a fact, or when we look at a fact and therefore, when we mix them up, it gets really bad. And that's where the root of a lot of strife comes from. Critical thinking, what we're trying to learn here, right? What is critical thinking and how do we think critically? Critical thinking really invites us to say, okay. Is this a fact? Is this an opinion? Is this a belief? And now that we know what category it's in, how are we going to analyze it? Right? Okay, fantastic. Great. By the way, on the presentation, so Scott says very slick presentation compared other classes. This is real. Please. As you see, this is all new. If you go back and look at my other live streams, you see that each semester I have a completely different look and feel. I crave feedback on the look and feel. 2 semesters ago, it was the first time I was live streaming and using OBS, and so I was trying different things. Last semester, I got better and added more features and so forth. This semester, all new, all over again. So my rule is every semester I'm supposed to be better. All right, so you're getting a better experience than the people last semester, but next semester, will be better than what you're getting now. Kind of a rule of mine. So afterwards, send me an email, tell me, give me a continue, stop, start. What should I continue doing? What should I stop doing? What should I start doing? And I would love to see examples of streams that you really like and why you like them. Oh my gosh, I would love that. Okay, let's get back to this. Now, critical thinking is important. Wall Street Journal article. Bosses seek critical thinking. But what is that? Okay, by the way, don't ever get down on yourself. If you don't understand something, don't ever think it's because you're a punk kid college student. There's a really good chance that other people don't understand it either, okay? If you're sitting here thinking, I'm not sure what critical thinking is, I guess I need to attend this lecture. Wall Street Journal feels a need to define critical thinking. And the people who are reading the Wall Street Journals are freaking MBAs out there making $1 bazillion a minute. You know what I mean, right? So don't ever get down on yourself saying, I'm struggling with the idea. I'm not sure I'm wrapping my mind around it. Am I lost? Am I lame? No. This is stuff that everybody struggles with, especially in business. Okay? Cool. Let's keep going. So I want to give you an example. Now, I'm going to break a rule of critical thinking. Okay? I want to first accentuate the rule so that you understand what rule I'm breaking. And then I'm going to break it. Critical thinking is not about looking at the thinking of others and pointing out where they're wrong. If you're looking for a license to troll, this ain't it. Critical thinking is about looking at our own thinking and assessing our own facts, opinions, beliefs, and seeing if we're astray somewhere, which we are, okay? However, as an example, since we're teaching this, I want to show you an example from a great man. This is Paul Otellini. Paul Otellini was one of the CEOs of Intel Corporation back when I worked at Intel. And I was at Intel during a couple of recessions, and there was a recession going on in 2008 or so, right? And I remember this so well. And furthermore, I remember him being in a room with him where he said some of this stuff, and I thought, are you sure you're seeing this properly? Okay, so let me show you what I mean. So this is a quote from Paul on April 8th, April 2008, sorry, April 2008. Stock price $21.50. People turn to computers to improve their productivity during a downturn because at the end of the day, the computer is a tool for productivity. Besides, much of our sales growth has been in emerging markets, India, China, Eastern Europe, and I don't see them going into recession. Okay, so what's he doing here? He's going for the sociocentric view. He's saying, listen, everybody always turns to computers during downturns because they want to be more efficient and more productive, and that's what computers do. So they might be laying off people, but they're going to invest more in automation. And if you invest in automation, you're investing in computers, we're going to be fine. And besides, this recession, it's not going on in other places, and that's where a lot of our sales are. All right. So that was in April. Let's go to July. Stock price has gone up. It's still doing really well. Intel says its business remains unaffected by the economic headwinds set loose by the subprime crisis. Ask your parents about the subprime crisis where the housing market was falling, something horrible. Oh my gosh, nightmares. All right. Intel's fine. But now check this out. November of the same frickin' year. Stock price has gone down $10, like 70%. Intel's chief executive believes the current economic turmoil is the worst in his lifetime. And Wall Street is increasingly of the mind that the chip giant will not escape the crisis unscathed. My sense is this is the deepest one I've seen in my lifetime. People, not even, 6 months has passed, and we've gone from, we're fine, everything's copacetic, to this is the worst thing ever. By the way, when he retired, one of his quotes, "I wish I'd been more prescient about the economic downturn." He didn't see it coming, and he didn't understand it. He did not acknowledge it as a reality, and he regretted that. This is a great man, people. Paul Udolini, smarter than me, more educated-ish. Yeah, this is a great man. And he fell into this. So don't ever think that I or anybody else has the right to point to you and say, you're not thinking critically, right? Everybody does this. I'm going to show you another example. All right? Still, my friend Paul Udolini. And he's in an interview with a man named Kai Ryssdal. Kai Ryssdal hosts a Marketplace, I think it's called Marketplace, a podcast called Marketplace, a radio, whatever. Kai Ryssdal's smart. Kai Ryssdal is smart. And he's interviewing Paul Udolini. This is in 2009, right? So Ryssdal says, "Here we sit at the world's largest computer chip company in what is arguably a post-computer world. Where does this company go from here?" And Udolini says, "Well, I have a hard time with your assertion. First of all, it's not arguably a post-computer world. It is a world in which we are still in the Model T stage of computing." Holy hell. One person, Kai Ryssdal, says we are in a post-computer world. Paul Udolini says we're in the Model T stage of computing, meaning we're just begun. You cannot have two more divergent points of view, right? Okay, Ryssdal comes and says, well, it's interesting you mention that because obviously people aren't buying computers now, which is why you're seeing sales fall and your orders to your company and your factories are down. Dude, Paul, baby, nobody's buying from you. Udolini, well, they're still buying computers. Kai Ryssdal, but not as many as you'd like. You see, they're coming at this from different worlds. Watch what Paul says. They're buying at 30% less than they were at the peak of last year, but still, I could argue they are at 70% of where they were. Oh my gosh, what kind of head screw do you need to give to yourself to say that a 30% drop in sales is really 70% of where we were, and 70 is a bigger number than 30, ergo we're fine. And part of that is replacement. Part of that is people are finding new uses, and part of it is first-time buyers, emerging markets, new nooks. He's just going to the same playbook. He's going to the same playbook that he's always gone to, which is, we're going to be fine. People are replacing computers. Everything's going to be great. This is not critical thinking, okay? By the way, and I won't go through this one, but it's another one. I just know this stuff because I was there. This is where Intel missed the opportunity to be in the iPhone. Yeah. We had because I still consider myself an Intel loyalist. We had the opportunity to be in Apple's iPhone from day one. And we said, nah, we don't see that going anywhere. Yeah, maybe we should have thought about that a little bit more, okay? So in review, in summary, all right, here's what I want you to embrace, right? So we're going to get ourselves a light bulb and say, all right, we're going to focus on this for just a moment, all right? Critical thinking is self-directed, self-disciplined, self-monitored, self-correcting. In other words, it's about identifying thinking errors in ourselves, not others, okay? Ourselves. That's a painful thing, by the way. Don't walk away thinking this is easy. It's painful to realize that you're a Utah driver. And you're probably still resisting the idea that actually most people on the road are better than you. I know, right? It's hard to process. Second point. If you're looking for a license to troll the internet and practice recreational outrage and decry the social failings of others, this is not your ticket. Critical thinking is all about calling out our own egocentric and sociocentric thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes, not those of others. Okay? So, we good? All right. Batman says we're good. All right? And so there you are. Now, one thing I'd like to recommend, go check out this TED Talk on being wrong with Catherine Schultz. It is so good. And she talks about why it is so difficult to come to terms with the idea that we're wrong. So it's not on any test. It's not part of the assignment. It's just, if you're interested in the idea of how do we figure out that we're wrong and on being wrong, because that's what critical thinking might show us, you're not a better driver than the others on the road. You're wrong. Yeah, right? Check out this TED Talk. It's really good. It's really good. Okay? And you are set. Congratulations. Fantastic. Our first live stream lecture, this is what you can expect going forward. Now, real quick, you still have some first assignments and so forth. Don't wait on these.
No, what are you waiting for?
Right?
Do it!
Do it. Okay, so do your assignments, get on top of them, get ahead if you can, and you're going to be in great, fantastic shape. I got one more comment here from Adrian, if I ever read 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Yes, good book. Good book. Yeah, a lot of it deals with how we look at our worldview and how we set our own limiters and shut ourselves out from opportunities and understanding things in new ways. Absolutely fantastic. So very good. Thank you very much for being engaged. Send me that email and we'll sweeten the pot for you. I'm going to stick around here online if you have any questions or comments that you want to add to the chat. Of course, you can always email me anything that you have if you don't want to publish to the world for all to see. But otherwise, great job. And thank you. We will see you all again on Monday. All right? We'll see you later.